Hi, you are welcome to ICT Made Easy channel. Today, what I will be teaching you is data modeling, and you all know data modeling is a part of paper 3. In paper 3, you are going to have just only two questions. One is web authoring, and I've done series for web authoring part 1, part 2, part 3, 4, and 5. And this data modeling. I'm going to do series for this one as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Try to watch everything. I believe if you watch all the series, then you should be able to answer any question related to data modeling. Now, before we start treating any past year question, let me quickly show you some few information you're supposed to know, some few things you're supposed to know about data modeling. So first and foremost, in this data modeling, you need to know how to carry out simple tasks in Microsoft Excel. Then you must know how to apply functions. Then you need to know how to use lookup functions, if functions, and some other functions. Then absolute and relative references are also of equal importance. You need to know all of them. Now, there is something we call cell reference. When we say cell reference means the name of the cell. Cell reference means the name of the cell. As you can see here, this is column D, column A, B, C, and D. And this is row 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if I click here now, so this is C4. How do I know it's C4? Because C and 4. So this is C4. What about this? This is E and 5 and 7. This is E7. So the name of the cell, we call it cell reference. Now, another thing you're supposed to know is what we call cell range. Cell range, let me show you an example here. Let's say you highlight everything like this, and you come here, you can give it a name. Cell, just give it whatever name you want. You say cell range, you see, and you press enter on your keyboard. So just say cell or something like that, and you press enter on your keyboard. And whenever you come here and you type cell, then everything will be highlighted for you. That's what you call cell range. So this is a range of a cell, and more than one cell can be selected at a time. Now, another thing you're supposed to know here is something we call cell formatting. Cell formatting, there are a lot of things. You need to know this, by the way, because it's very famous. One of the cell formatting you can do, of course, you can talk about the cell color. They can ask you to do something on cell color. So let's say you highlight this one, this cell. So let me make this one bigger. So you can give it a color. You can merge the whole cell margin. Let me just type something here. You can merge the whole cell together. Then they can ask you to do the border, okay? Or you can just highlight everything here and you can show the border. Then, there are a lot of things they can ask you to do here. Just pay attention when it comes to anything cell formatting, okay? Then one thing you're supposed to know as well, okay, cell formatting is just an example. So, and currency is also part of it. Like the number here, you can choose. So, is it currency? Is it number? Is it percentage? It's also part of it. This we are going to see all this one in the equation. Then they might ask you to hide and show a column or a row. For example, let's say column D, you can right click and you can hide it. You see, you won't see it any longer, and you can unhide it again. You can unhide it again, so to see it. You can unhide that column D again. Then the same thing row. Sometimes the question might ask you to hide, and you can hide it. So just try to pay attention to that. Now, another thing you're supposed to know here is something we call header and footer. Sometimes the question might ask you to put your name, your center number, and country number in header. How do you do that? You just click on insert and you will see header and footer here. So then you can write your name, whatever. Let's say this one is your name, and maybe in the footer they ask you to write anything in the footer here. ICT Made Easy. Okay, now you can write anything there, and Then after that, so how do you go back to normal view? You just click on view and you click on normal. Okay, you just click on view and you click on normal. Then it's going to look like this. So that's how to do header and footer. Then another thing you're supposed to know here is how to create a chart, maybe a graph. So you might be given some numbers. So you might be given some numbers and they might ask you to create some. Let me clear everything. So to create some charts, that's very easy, by the way. Let's say you have some names here and you have age. You have some name there and you have age. So you can say Mr. A, the age is 2, and Mr. B, so the age is 6. So let me just copy this to be on safe, just to save my time. Okay, then if they ask you to create a chart, just highlight everything. Then you click on insert and you can create whatever chart they want you to create. You see, just very easy to create a chart. So creating a chart is quite easy, by the way. So now another thing, let me clear everything here. Okay, now another thing you're supposed to know is formula. So in formula, of course, you do have, whenever you want to start a formula, you start with equal, and you can have 5 plus 2, and it's going to give you 7. So you can use plus, you can use minus, you can use division, and you can use multiplication. So all this one, we normally use it. All these operators, we normally use it in Microsoft Excel. Now, another thing, the function. I'll be talking about all these functions one by one. So when they ask you what's the meaning of a function, you just say functions are predefined formulas and they are already available in Excel, and you can give examples. Okay, they are predefined formulas and you can give examples. Now let's talk about, then I will talk about all these functions one by one so that you can know how to use them, and if you see them in equation, how do you use them in equation as well. Now, but there's one thing that's very important. That's what we call absolute reference and relative reference. Absolute reference and relative reference. So we are having two types of reference, and you can easily understand that with an example. So let's say you have some items, then you need to calculate the, let's say the price. So you have item A, then you have item B. Let me just copy this, duplicate. Okay, let me call this one, it doesn't work the way I want. Let me call this one C, and this one will be D, and this one will be E, and this one will be F. All right, now for the price, or let's say quantity, for example, let's say quantity, then I can put price here. So the quantity, let's say I want 5 for this, I want 2, I want 5. Let me just duplicate this one will be 8, it's okay. Then the price, if I want to calculate the price, let's say the price is 12 for this, and this one is 14, whatever, I'm just putting any random number. Okay, now let me put how much money you can sell it. So I can use a formula here. I say equal this one, whatever I have in cell D8 multiplied by whatever I have in cell E9 or E8. Then I press enter, which means 2 times 12. The good news of doing things like this is, whenever I change anything here, if I change this one to 4, you see the formula will change automatically. But if I don't use the formula here, let's say I only put equal 4 times 12. Let's say I put 4 times 12, 4 times 12, I press is 48. But whenever I change anything here, you see the formula never change. So that is why whenever you are using a formula, it's always a good idea to use the name of the cell. Don't use the number, don't use the value. You use the cell reference, the name of the cell, D8. Don't write 8. just use D8. D8 times E8, then it will give you this, and anytime you change anything here, so your formula will be okay. So it will calculate automatically, and you can just duplicate. Look at what is going to happen if I want to replicate this formula. You know what I'm going to do? I just click here. Can you see the black line? Then I drag my mouse down, then it will replicate the formula for me. So this one, you see, this times this, then this times this, and this one, D13 times E13. Simple as that. So if you have anything like this, we call this what we call relative reference. Relative reference. Relative reference. But what about the absolute reference? I will show you an example. Let's say you need to pay tax. Tax of 0.5. Okay, you need to pay tax of 0.5, and if you want to know let's say if you want to know the price here, what you need to do is you need to say equal this one times this, and I press OK. Yeah, it's okay. 10 times 0.5, that will be 5. But look at what will happen if I replicate that formula for the rest of the cell. It shows 0. Why does it show 0? Why? Because it says this one times this, and this place is actually nothing. Why by this? 16 times this. This is nothing. This is nothing. This is nothing, as well as this. So in that case, what I need to do here is I need to do absolutes. How do I do absolutes? I need to lock this value. I need to lock this value, that this value is a constant. It will not be changing. It is not like the previous one we did. This times this times this one times this one times this one times this, and this times this. No, this one I having just only one value, and it is constant. So then what I'm going to do here is I need to put $sign in front of H and $sign in front of tree. Why? Because H is for the column, right? And tree is for the row, H tree. I need to put the $sign, so which means I've already locked this value. So if I replicate the formula now, it should be okay. How? You can see 14 times this, 14 times this one, 14 times is 0.5, 18 times is 0.5, 20 times is 0.5, 22 times is 0.5. So basically, if somebody asks you to, or in your exam, when they ask you to do anything absolute reference, it means you need to put $sign. That's what it means. You need to lock the sign. You need to lock the cell. How do you lock it? You lock it with $sign. So pay attention to that. Now, then let's talk about sum. Let's talk about sum function. To use sum function is very easy. You just need to say equal sum. You open bracket and you close it. So then you can choose the range from here until here. This is how to do sum function. You press enter, then it's going to tell you the sum is 63. So sum, we use it to add all the numbers together. We never use sum for letters, right? You cannot say equal sum, you open bracket and you want to sum all the letters and you press enter. This one is 0 because it's not possible to say A plus B plus C. It can never be. This is not a number. We only use sum function for numbers. Now, another function you're supposed to know is count. A count function. We use count function when you want to know how many numbers are there. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm having only 6 numbers. So how do you do that? You just say equal count. Very easy. You open bracket, then you highlight what you want to count, the range of what you want to count, and you close the bracket. Then it's going to tell you is 6. So if you delete something here, let's say I delete this one, then it's going to tell you is 5. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe you see how it works. Now, so count is very important. You need to know that. However, so the count function will only count the cell. It counts how many cells. So do not get confused with sum. Sum is going to count the number in the cell, but for the count is going to count how many cells you have. Now, but another thing you're supposed to know here, we call it count A. Count A, it counts all the cells within the range that are not empty. Anything that is not empty is going to count it. Count A. Count with letter A. Let me show you. Let's say equal count A, then you open bracket, then it's going to count everything, and you close the bracket. It will tell you it's 6. Why? Because all these cells are not empty. But let's say I make this one to be empty, it's going to say this is 5. Let's say I make this one to be empty, it's going to say I'm having 4 now. You get it? It's going to count all the cells that are not empty. It's going to count all the cells that are not empty. Another thing you're supposed to know is count if. Count if. Normally, whenever you see if, it means you are going to put some criteria. You are going to put some criteria. Whenever you see if, you are going to put some criteria. For example, we have sum if, we have count if, we have average. We have normal average, and we also have average if. All of them, whenever you see if, it means you need to put some criteria there. I'm going to show you. When we say count if, look at this one. When we say count if, so the function you are having here, as you can see, so the function, this function will count the cell which contains a specific criteria from the range. Specific criteria from the range. And a very good example is what I'm showing you here. A very good example is what I'm showing you here. So let me quickly demonstrate that. Let's say I want to count how many, let me put this one is AB. Let's say I call this one A. Let's say I call this one A as well. I'm having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I can say equal count if I want to count how many A's I have. A normal count cannot do that for me. Count A cannot do that for me. But I want to count from this cell. This is the range. What is the criteria? Can you see here? What is the criteria? What do I want to count? I want to count how many A's are there. I want to count how many A's are there. Then it will tell me I have only 3 A's. So if I change this one to B now, it will tell me I have only 2, 1 and 2. What about if I change this one to C? I have 1. If I change this one to F, it will tell me I don't have any A there. That's what we use count A for. Count if with a criteria. But we can use it for number as well. Let's say I have 8 here as well. Then I have 7. Now I can use it for numbers as well. I say count if. What am I counting? Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to start with equal. Any formula you need to start with equal. Equal count if. Count if. This is the range of what I want to count. But what am I counting here? I want to count how many 7 I have. I want to count how many 7 I have. It tells me I have only 1 7. But if I change this one to 7, it will be 2. If I change this one to 7, it will be 3 now. Can you see? So you can use it for both letters and numbers for count if. So you pay attention to that. Then before I continue, let's say sometimes you might see a question which asks you to count everything except something else. So then you need to use this symbol. You need to use this symbol. Let me show you what I mean. This symbol. This symbol means count everything, exclude something else. So I can say equal count if. What do I want to count? I want to count everything from here until here. I want you to count everything. Count everything. Exclude B. Count everything. Exclude B. You see how then you press enter, then it will tell me I have only 4. Because I have just only 2B, then 1, 2, 3, 4. I have only 4. Can you see the difference? If I say count everything, count all the B I have here, it will tell me it's 2. Count all the B's I have here, it will tell me it's 2. Then if I put this symbol, it means that count everything except B. This one, count everything, count every B I have in the range. Count, but if I put this one, count everything, exclude B, then it will tell me it's 4. So take note of that, it's very important. Then another thing you're supposed to know here, we normally use count if for less than or greater than or more than or less than or equal to. We normally use count if for everything like that, and I believe you can see it in this example. Look at the example I'm giving here. I can say count if, this is the range, anything that is greater than 12. Let me show you examples so that you can practice it on your own. I say equal count if. I want you to count everything I have in this range, but what do you want to count? Anything that is greater than 5. Anything that is greater than, let's say, 8. Anything that is greater than 8. Which means, and from this range, just count anything that is greater than 8 for me. Then it will tell me just only 3. All this one, they are greater than 8. These 3, they are not greater than 8. Can you see now how we are doing this? So you pay attention. You need to know all this before you jump to the question. If you don't know all this, you are going to find it difficult, for sure. But you need to know how to use all these functions before you jump to the question. That's why I try to explain all this one, all this function. Now, let's see. Count, summary, the summary. So when we use count, we normally use it for the range. Count A, cells that are not empty. Count if, that's when you have a criteria, a specific criteria. So we use count if, exclude. We use this one, exclude. So this we count everything apart from the specific criteria. You say count everything except A. So you pay attention to this. Now, another thing you're supposed to know here is sum if. Sum if is also very important. It's one of the functions you're supposed to know. As I told you earlier, now let's look at the example now. Let's say if I say sum, you sum everything I have here. Of course, it's very easy. It's going to tell you it's 50. 5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10, then plus 11. However, if you have sum if, we want to do sum if here. You say sum if, then look at this number. Please look for B for me in that number. Then after that, you add the number of B. You sum it for me. B, you sum its number for me. Then it's going to tell you B is 5 plus 7 is 12. I believe you understand what I'm doing. Let me do it again. You say equal sum if. Let's say, look at this number for me. Okay, then after that, I need F. I need F. Then you look at this place and you find out the value. Look at this place and you find out the value of F for me. That's 7 and 17. Is going to add it together and you press enter, then it will tell you it's 24. That's how sum if works. So it's very important. It's one of the things you're supposed to know. Now let's talk about average and average if. Just like I told you earlier, to know average is very easy. Average of a number. So just say equal. So average, then open bracket, You highlight everything here and you close the bracket, and it's going to tell you the average number is 8.33. But let's say you need average if. Okay, let's say equal average if. How do we use it? You can say that look at this number. Okay, just like some if. Look at this number, comma. Then I want you to look at B, letter B. Then after that, look at this, and you give me the average of that letter B. Give me its average of that letter B. It will tell you 6. How? 5 and 7. What is 5 plus 7? 12. What is the average of 12? 12 divided by 2, that will be 6. That's how we do average if. Average if. So take notes. They might ask you to do something like that in your exam. Now, another thing you're supposed to know here is if. If is very, very important. If function. If it has 3 parts. One is logical part. The second one is the true statement. And the third one is the false statement. Now, let me quickly give you a very good example for this if. Now, let me clear everything. Let's say name, then let's say Mark, then let's talk about grade. So I can say Mr. Let's say Ahmed, then Ibrahim, then Amina and Khadija. Okay, I'm having 4 names. Let's say the marks, they are marks X. This one is 52, and this one is 62, and this one is 85, and this one is 93, for example. Now, just a random number. I can say if equal the grade, if whatever number I have here, this is the logical test that I want to try. If it's greater than, let's say 60, if it's greater than 60, what is the true value? Then it means that student pass. Otherwise, the student fail. I'm testing for just only one condition. Just only one condition. If anything I have in this cell is greater than 60, then the student pass. Otherwise, that student fail. You press enter. You see, it tells me the student fail. I can just replicate this formula for the rest of the cell. This one say pass, pass, pass. So if I eventually change this one to 46 now, it will tell me fail. If I change this one to 85 now, it will tell me pass. So I believe you see how it works. That's we use if just to test for only one condition. Only one. So this one, it can be anything. It can be equal. It can be less than. It can be greater than or equal to, whatever. You get it now. Even you can write a formula here. You can write a formula here as well. So it's not necessary to be pass or fail. Now, but another thing you're supposed to know is what we call nested if. That nested if is very, very, very important. That's when you are having as many if as possible. A nested if will contain more than one true statement. Then the nested if we check the first logical test. If the first test is false, then it will check the next logical test. If both tests are false, then the false value will be shown. So let me show you what I mean by logical test. Let's say what I want to do is, if anybody gets any student gets less than 50, then it's fail. If it is 50, if it is 50 to 80, then the student gets A. Then let's say if this 81 to 100, then that student gets A star. This is what I want to do. Let's say I want to test for these 3 conditions. So what I can do here is I want to do grade for nested, for example, just for you to make it clear for you. Great for nested. Let me write the formula now. I say equal if what? If anything I have the mark, if the mark is less than 50, if the mark is less than 50, comma, then what is the true statement? What is this true statement? Then it means the student failed. That's his true statement. Comma. Then what is the first statement now? What is the first statement? I have to start another if. If this cell D9 is less than 80, because that's it, from 50 to 80. If it is 50, 60, 69, 70, 70, in as much as it's less than 80, or it's less than, because I said 50 to 80, it's less than or equal to 80. That's one way. Or you can say it's less than 81. It means it will not count 81. It will only stop at 80. So it's up to you, whatever is less than or equal to 80, comma, what will happen? Then that student gets A, comma, and the last one, otherwise, if the first condition is not fulfilled, the student doesn't get less than 50, and the second condition doesn't fulfill, the student doesn't get less than 80, then it means that student must have got more than 81. Then in that case, the student will get A star. So I don't need to put another if for the last one. I don't need to put another if for the last one. You just press enter here. Oh, I supposed to close the bracket because I'm having as many brackets as possible here. So, okay, I think I supposed to put this one in the code, right? A star. I supposed to put in the code. Then it works. This one is A star because it's 85. Then let me just duplicate this formula for the rest of the cell. This one is fail and this one is A star. So if I change this one to 90 now, it will come to A star. If I change this one to 50, it will be A. But if I change it to 49, then it will be fail. So this is how to do nested if. Just try to check this and you try to practice it on your own. Try to practice it on your own. It's very, very important. If you cannot do nested if, I wonder how you can pass this paper. Nested if as well as VLOOKUP. Those two things are very, very important. Nested if and VLOOKUP, they are very, very important. So make sure you know how to do them. All right. So let me give another example so that, because it's very, very important. Let's say I have 12, 45, 80, 12, let's say 80, 64. I have it here. Then I want to put nested if here. So I can say if any number is less than 20, then that would be Mr. A. Then if any number is less than, is within, let's say 20, is less than 20, is within 20 to 40, then that would be Mr. B. Then if it is 41 to 60, then that would be Mr. C. Then 61 to 80, that would be Mr. D. And anything above 81, then that would be Mr. E. How do you do this in nested if? Very easy. The same, just write the formula as well. This is what I want to do. I say equal if anything I have in this place. So you see what I did earlier, I actually start from the smallest, right? Now I will start from the biggest now. If anything I have here is greater than 81, is greater than or equal to 81, is greater than or equal to 81, what will happen? That will be Mr. E. Yes, simple. Greater than or equal to 81, that would be Mr. E, comma, if anything I'm having here, C15, is less than 61. Okay, now based on this example, let's do it again. I can say equal if anything I'm having here is less than 20. Then what will happen? That will be Mr. A, comma, if anything I'm having here is less than 40, comma, then that will be Mr. B. Then if C15 is less than 60, I can say less than or equal to, since I say 20 to 40, less than or equal to, this one also less than or equal to, so less than or equal to 60, then that would be Mr. C, comma, if what, C15, you can even type it by the way, if C15, or you can just click on it, C15 is less than or equal to 80, comma, what will happen? That will be Mr. D. Otherwise, that will be Mr. E, the last one. Otherwise, that will be Mr. E, the last one. I believe you see how I do this one as well. You just press enter. Okay, sorry, I supposed to close how many if I opened? Like one, the first bracket for the first if, the second bracket for the second if, the third one for the third one, and the last one. Then you press enter here. Okay, so now what you do, you just duplicate the formula for the rest of the cell. So with this, I believe you should know how to do nested if. Now let me move forward. The next one is VLOOKUP. This VLOOKUP is very important. Using VLOOKUP is similar to looking up a person's name in a telephone book to get a telephone number. So we do have two types of lookup. We have V and we have H lookup. We have V and we have H lookup. And I'm going to show you example of each of these in details. So let me delete everything here. So let's say I have a list of name. I have a list of name. Let's say code. Then each code represents a state. Each code represents a state. I can say SL. Okay, SL. Then KD. Then SH. Then I can say JHO. Then finally maybe KL. So this one, it means Kuala Lumpur. Then let's say this one is Johor, and this one is SH. SH. Let's say whatever. I don't remember what I used to represent this one, but let's just say MA, Malacca. Malacca. Then let's say Kedah. And finally, let's say Selangor. Okay. Now, I want to create a new file here now. I want to create a new file here. So, a new table. I want to create a new table here. Here, I can just say code, then state. Code and state. Whenever I type SL here, I want Selangor to appear here. I need to look up for the value of Selangor from this table. That's what I want to do. Whenever I type anything I type here, let's say KD, I want the value of KEDA to come here. If I type KL, I want that value Kuala Lumpur to come here. How do I do that? I need to look up for the I need to look up for the value. I just say equal. Because all this information are in vertical, that's why I'm going to use VLOOKUP. Having been there in horizontal, then you need to use HLOOKUP. You just need to type HLOOKUP. You know what I mean by horizontal? I'm going to show you in a moment. But now I say equal VLOOKUP. You open this. What value I want to look up? Anything I type in this place, this is the value. This is the lookup value. I want, you see, lookup value, this is the value. Anything I type here, then table array. I want you to go to this place to go and look up for me. Then comma, column index. The answer, where is the answer? In the second column, because the 1 and 2. First column, second column. The answer is actually in the second column. And is it going to be false or true? It's going to be false because I'm looking for a exact match. That's why I said false. Then press enter. You see, nothing shows here. You know the reason why nothing shows here? Because I didn't type anything here now. So if I type SL here, it will look up for the value of Selangor for me. What about KD? KEDA. What about KL? Then Kuala Lumpur. That's how it works. That's how VLOOKUP works. And it doesn't matter where I put this. It doesn't matter where I put this. Let me copy this information. I can actually create another sheet here and I can put it here. The same applies. The same applies. So what I just need to do here is when I'm writing the formula, so I need to go and select my table array from here. I need to go and select my table array from the second sheet. Simple, and you press enter and that's all. It doesn't matter that you need to do it in the same sheet. And even as a matter of fact, they can even do it in another Excel file. They can do it in and you are going to see that one in a question. You are going to see it in a question. Now, as I promised that I'm going to show you that of HLOOKUP. Let's say you have a code here, then you have states here, this horizontal information. So this one is SL, then this one is KD. Let's say this one is MA, then this one is JH, and finally this one is KL. Now, I can say the value of name, I can just call it name. I don't want to use state, just that you can know I can put anything here. I use Amina here, I use Salam here, I use Samad here, then I use Muiz here, then I can use Manan here, for example. Okay, now let me go back to this. I say equal. Whenever, let me write the formula. I can write the formula anyway, it doesn't matter by the way. Equal HLOOKUP. How do I know I'm going to use HLOOKUP? Because the value here, everything are in horizontal. I believe you know the meaning of horizontal. But this one are in vertical. That's why we use. The question might not tell you, are you going to use HLOOKUP or VLOOKUP? You have to figure it out yourself. But you just need to look at the table. If it is vertical, then you use VLOOKUP. If it is horizontal, then you use HLOOKUP. Okay? Now, let's do it. You say equal HLOOKUP. HLOOKUP, you want to look up for a value. What value you want to look up? Anything I type in this place, that's the lookup value. Where is the table array? Please, I want you to go to this place. Sorry, I'm starting from here, I will not put the code and the name. I want you to go to this place. Then you look up the answer. Where is the answer here? The column, the row, because it's using the row. This row number 1 and this row number 2. Where is the answer here? The answer is actually in row number 2, right? The answer is the row number 2, which means the SL, the answer is here. Row number 1 is SL for the code, then row number 2 is the answer. Then I'm looking for the exact value, which is the false. Then you press enter. Then it's going to, so if I type anything here now, SL, it will bring Amina for me. If I type KL, it will bring Manan for me. You see now. So that's how to do VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. So now, towards the last part of this video, validation. Data validation is also very important. Data validation prevents invalid data from being entered into a cell. For example, you could reject invalid date or number greater than a given value. So then you can also force input to be chosen from a drop-down list of values you specify. So just try to take note of this point. Then we used to do something on rounding as well. Rounding is also something very nice, which you're supposed to know. But there are two things I will quickly show you before I end this video. Let's say instead of asking people to write their name, let's say you are having a state here, then you want them to choose which state they are from, or they need to type the state Kuala Lumpur. Instead of just typing, you can just put a drop down. How do you do drop down? This is one of the questions they used to ask you. Drop down, you just need to click on data, then after that data validation, then you click on data validation here, then you choose list, and you can put here Kuala Lumpur, let's say Johor, Selangor, then let's say Malacca. Yeah, simple. You press OK. You see now? So if I click here, it becomes a drop down, and I can just duplicate this formula for the rest of the cell. So I can click here and I choose which one I want for each one. You see how it works? So this is how to do drop down. Very easy. Click on data, then data validation, then you choose list, and you just need to write all your validation here. It's simple as that. Another thing, let's say you have a number 23 point this, and they want you to round it up. How do you do round up? Equal round. You have round up and you have round down. If you want to round up something, you can, I want to round up whatever I have here into how many number of digits, into, let's say 1, and then that's 23.7. But if I say into 0, then that will be 24, right? Then I can use round down as well. So just take note, all these things you can do it successfully. It's going to be 23. So round down into just only 1 decimal or 2 or 3 or 4 decimal places is going to give you the value. So take note of this. And in the next video, because this video is a bit quite long, in the next video I'm going to show you how to answer all these IGCSE questions related to data analysis, related to data modeling. Then I will show you in details. I show you some 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 examples in the next videos. So thank you for watching, and see you. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Bye.
ICT textbook is boring, right? Do you believe it's too voluminous, containing a lot of information? Even if you read it 1 million times, you might still not be able to answer IGCSE questions correctly. We have a solution for you. We have created all-in-one IGCSE summary slides for each chapter. It covers the whole curriculum. We present it in a concise manner, all you need to be an A-star student. The slide is well prepared by an ICT Cambridge examiner. After each topic, we provide IGCSE-related questions with answers. Download now. www.highsayteamadeasy.com